growth. Growth is a good sign. Whenever we are developing our skill sets, learning new learning new tools so that we can help ourselves move forward. And I'm being in the health and wellness field. There's so many things. Last week we talked about stress and how much stress can just eat your lunch, and last night we had a great class at the office and on our food coaching program. And if you missed that, we want you to really know that there's an opportunity to really grab that idea that we always talk about at Living Well, that life starts and stops at the cellular level, and nutrition is your fundamental piece of healthcare that you've got to get integrated. And in order to maximize your longevity, to maximize your vitality so that you can feel good, look good, be good, smell good, and all those fun things, so that he was really special. He always makes that, that idea that if you're not constantly working on yourself. And so I've gone through seasons where I read 20, 30 minutes every day. I go through seasons where I'm listening to 20, 30 minutes of audio every day, specifically geared to growing and developing me. And then I'm real conscious about building note systems. So like I have a slew, hundreds and hundreds of notes from different books, different chapters of books, different ideas, nuggets. I even take quotes from that really hit me, and I save them. And I've shared some of those on our station before with you guys, because these notes are like reflection time. And if anybody got a hold of my notes, they would see that, I'm a serious student. Like, I want to be, I don't ever want to assume that I've arrived. I don't ever want to assume that I know enough, because there's so much to know. There's so much to evolve. I mean, there's so many things. I wish I could speak Spanish. I wish I could jam the guitar more. I wish I could, work on different aspects of things with my kids or play with my pets, or or invest in this or play in this realm. I'm just curious. I think the magic of staying motivated is being curious and constantly putting nuggets of good truth in my day to day, every day. So it's either I reflect on my old notes, or I get new data points from new books or new inspirations that I'm listening to. But I think if you don't put the practice of putting in good inputs into your day to day activity, that's what happens to those that don't evolve and keep that motivation. It's erosion.
Yeah.
And I think that is what really drives me, is just to make sure that I don't erode that sharpness that I want to bring to the table and turn it into something dull. I don't want it to be dull. I want it to be exciting. I know it's a similar message every week. Food is medicine. But guys, the reality is people are choosing poison, and they're confused on why their body is filled full of symptom patterns, filled full of rashes, heart disease, anxiety, depression, joint pain, headaches, sleep disruption. You know what I mean? It's like there's so many things that people are dealing with day in and day out. Some of it could be external influences driving their body into a stress state that's causing some sort of symptom pattern. Some of it is because of their choices. I mean, they're just not putting enough fuel in. Mm-hmm. And some people don't want to believe that they can be in control of their health and their vitality. I want people to grasp that. I want people to constantly see, beyond a shadow of a doubt, like that's why just doing clinical nutrition isn't enough. We want to bring in the nutrition, the food, and really teach people again the art of eating good quality nutritional foods. I mean, there's so many foods. I'm watching over at my in-laws. I was watching this documentary they had running, and how America was built on food. And it's all the fast food chains. And I think with good intention, these entrepreneurial spirits went out and made a place for themselves in the marketplace, but it's turned into fake food galore. And if we eat make-believe food, the best we'll ever have is
make-believe health.
Make-believe health. And nobody wants make-believe health. They forget that an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. They forget that they can push onward, upward, goodward, and Godward, and get their body to perform at a level mentally, emotionally, physically, in that will ultimately help them be in a position to hear spiritually, to see spiritually, to move spiritually, and to be more invigorated with life and the adventure. And so I want and I want to be an inspiration. That's another part of my motivation, to keep at this process. But man, this food coaching program is something. It is amazing to see the people that have already jumped on board. For basically for the next every other Monday, we're doing in this intro class. Once we get a little base of community in the food coaching realm, we'll actually start teaching specific programs in the life coaching, the food coaching program around proteins, fats, carbs, good sugars, bad sugars, like how to navigate those things. We'll teach to those models, but right now we're introducing this idea because it's new. It's new, this idea, we all know food. We all know food is important. And people tell me all the time, they say, I know what I need to be doing. I just won't do it. I just can't let go of the alcohol. I just can't let go of the sugar. I can't let go of the carbs. I can't let go of the this and that. So
and that's why you need a coach.
And that's why you need a coach. Very good. I mean, and guys, that is the truth. If you do the same thing over and over and over and over again, expecting a new result, what do they call that, Gardy?
It's insanity.
It's insanity. Who wants to be labeled insane? I don't need, or I'm just pushing a shovel, Dr. Chapa. I don't need, to do that. No. You don't know what's evolving in the secret place. I was just talking to a patient last week, and he just his brother was promoted to a high position in Kenneth Copeland's church. And Kenneth Copeland has done amazing things for the ministry for Jesus Christ, and has done great things. And his mentor, the guy that was giving up the position and retiring, when they were passing the baton off at the ceremony, he said something. He goes, the Lord never forgot about those secret, quiet worship sessions that you were having when nobody was around. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. The Lord heard your prayers. The Lord recognized, when the Bible talks about the Lord seeking to and fro whom will glorify Him, even when nobody's watching. So just because you feel like maybe you're not making a significant impact, I want to challenge you to how much love can you do in the job that you've been given. Be a good steward right where you're at. Be a bloom right where you're planted. But I think a lot of times as we get lackadaisical in the routine, the mundane, the pattern of erosion the wrong way, and we aren't chiseling that David sculpture out of ourselves. We're not our best sculpture out of ourselves. And that requires you to, challenge yourself. That requires you to possibly have a coach speak into your life, somebody that can see what you're not doing enough of, even though you think you're doing enough of it. Because we all want to rationalize and justify our good behaviors to outweigh our bad ones, right?
Yeah, Pastor Hallam was just talking about a sculptor, and there's a story, and there was an artist, and I can't remember who it was, but he was walking by and saw a big stone and said, "That's a lion. I see a lion. Everybody else sees a giant rock."
That's right.
And so what do you do? He said, "I just take this chisel and I take everything away that's not a lion." And that's almost like what an artist or a coach or somebody else who sees, I see more in you. Maybe you don't see it yourself. Maybe you do. It's there. It used to be there. But it just takes that extra, that motivation, that help. Take everything away that's not benefiting you.
People oftentimes they underestimate the power of somebody speaking into their life. Like when people come into our office at Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center, we're not just there for a visit. We are, as clinicians, seeing in our patients those things that aren't them. And we want to speak those things into their lives that we see, because we can, when we're unemotionally attached to the patient, meaning we don't have to live in their stuff. We don't have to deal with their stuff day to day. So we're an outlet away from the stuff of life that is challenging them and beating them down, right? Because we all have that curveball. We all have the challenge, the uphill climb. But the coaching is valuable. The coaching allows us to move a person from where they are to where they never knew they could reach, just through motivation, encouragement, or skill sets that we can develop. And we need to stop wishing for less problems. We need to start thanking God for new skills and new people to speak into our life to help us develop those skills. And we need to be willing ourselves to submit to a coach's authority to help navigate the challenges and curveballs that are coming at us. Because a lot of people say, well, I don't have time to eat. Okay, I get that. That's what the world has taught us, that you got to eat fast food, right? Convenient food, that you got to eat prepackaged foods that are loaded with processed junk, MSG, the artificial sugars, what we call the 4 deadly food additives, high fructose corn syrup, partially hydrogenated oil. We've got to recognize that preservation is an amazing thing, except that it was designed not to be something that we are sustained on. They're not staples. We still need to be going to the basics. You're looking at vegetables again. Like, there's so much phytonutrients and phytochemicals found in carrots, in artichokes, in asparagus, in Brussels sprouts, in green beans, and getting people to navigate back to real food is hard. It's hard for us to help people see. They go, oh, I can't. I hate vegetables. Yeah, I know. We have to change the mindset, the paradigm. I just want you to attempt at eating a new one this way with this spice on it. Oh, but I don't like that spice. Okay, well, what do you like? How can we make Molly and I were talking about it this past week too, that there's always more than one way to skin a cat. We always find workarounds. And that's why it's never a loss. Just because you're not, quote unquote, following the plan. Man, do you realize that if you just started with getting your daily water consumption in, that is a monstrous feat forward. That is a huge, huge step in the right direction. Consistency over time, being hydrated. I shared that story a few weeks ago when they had a patient come in and they were drinking 10 16-ounce glasses of water for 10 hours before they started having urination, the call to urinate. That's how dehydrated some of these folks are. And you might say, well, every time I drink water, I pee like a racehorse. Chop, what does that mean? Does that mean I don't need no water anymore? No. That could mean that you have toxins, and every time you put in the water, your body's flushing that trash out. What if we just started with breakfast, and we teach you, all right, we need you to eat, these types of proteins, these types of carbs, these types of fats. Maybe we need to cut your fat down during your day. Maybe you're over-consuming. Maybe, you've been doing keto and paleo and carnivore too long. And compound that with your stress, your body just needs a change. And we just find that people just aren't eating food. I mean, they're just lost in the food matrix, so to speak, and they can't figure out what is real food versus what is fake food. And they're confused around this idea of food. And man, it's a sad thing. I think that is a part of what we are trying to do at Living Well, is to highlight what real food looks like and help people maximize nutritional intake of strong, nutrient-dense foods. And these things come through breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They come through snacks. They come through balancing our blood sugar. And with the level of stress that people are under, I think, we can't say that there's a one-size-fit-all diet, right? I mean, we have to find diets that it will help pull people out of a rut. We have to find food programs that are sustainable. We have to find places where they can have little cheats without completely derailing. I mean, I have one patient, she got into just 3 bites, she says, of chocolate cake, and it derailed her blood sugar, her adrenal stress, her cortisol hormones, all went haywire for 2 weeks. Oh my gosh. God, I mean, could you imagine like your system being so fouled up that you just crave like a maniac for 2 weeks after 2 or 3 bites of something that you call delish?
I think hindsight would say, hey, I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna abstain. If she knew the damage that it would do, probably go back and take it back if you could.
If you could, right?
Yeah.
Because they were on a path, right? And so we talked about with our patients that we want them to build a streak. How many days in a row? 14 days is a good streak, because food can impact you negatively for 4 days. If you go out tonight and have, your favorite fast food or favorite processed food, or it's pizza night or whatever, and you indulge in that quote unquote less quality, higher processed food, it could potentially inflame your body Gardy, for 4 days, 3 days. And then, I mean, that's half your week. Yeah. So what you ate on Monday, breaks you down Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday instead of builds you up. And you're thinking, but what if it was just a meal, Dr. What if it was just 3 bites, Dr. Chapa? I mean, you're telling me I can't have 3 bites of a cheat? I ain't playing that game. Well, hey, maybe. I don't know yet. I don't know your story. See, when you come in, we're going to learn your story. We're going to find your tales. We're going to figure out how to navigate those pitfalls so that when you cheat, you don't fall off the rails for 2 weeks, right? We can't afford that. You can derail a little bit, but what if? When we're looking at your food program and we see that you're just over-consuming. You bought into everything in Texas is what, Yardy?
It's bigger.
It's bigger.
And better.
And better, absolutely. Yeah. And so the most amazing thing, if we could just get you to look at volume of food. So like here's your 1 week cheat meal. Here's your 2 week cheat meal. And then all of a sudden you say, they taught me how to evaluate what 3 ounces of meat looks like. They taught me how to put 1 to 2 vegetables on my plate. They taught me what half a cup of a good carb looks like, and I indulge in a meal, not a feast, right?
Yeah.
And not that there's anything wrong with it. You see, it's just understanding that what if that particular meal, being that it was higher in salt, it's higher in fat, it's higher in potentially processed oils. All things that can slow our body down, all things that can disrupt us. But instead of you overindulging, you just eat enough. Remember what Mary Poppins always said? Enough is as good as a feast. Enough is as good as a feast. I can say it over and over because it's true. And so if you can maybe eat a little less of those processed foods, they won't derail you like if you were to put this big brick in your stomach. I think that is a valid, conversation to have. And we just say, this is so easy, Dr. Chapa. I already know all this stuff. Tell me something new, please. I need some sort of revelation. I need some sort of like new magic wand to help, inspire myself. No, it's the basics. My wife comes to me one time and says, Aaron, I drank all my water today. I'm so excited. Right. And I'm like kind of like, oh, that's really great, honey. I'm really excited for you. And she goes, what does that mean? Like, I said, it means you get to do it again tomorrow. She didn't like that, Yeah. And I said, honey, you got to realize it with food chemistry, it's day in, day out, more often than not, making the good choice. Nothing below your taste buds wants you to indulge in the sugars. Nothing below your taste buds needs those fake food, processed oils, or those artificial sugars. Nothing. And so we have to be respectful that your cells underneath those taste buds and all that you can't see, just because we look at each other and we don't see individualized cells, we have to appreciate that cells synergize together. In the nuclei and the mitochondria, they all work inside that cell, and so that they can communicate more effectively with neighboring cells, and cells come together to build tissues. Tissues come together to build organs. Organs come together to synergize with other organs, and we call those organ systems. And then those organ systems create what? The organism. And so we're like literally a giant organism. And we're just sophisticated. We have opposable thumbs, We can cook our own food. We figured out fire. I mean, we've done all this stuff, right? So we're amazing in our ability to create. But then we get in the kitchen, and all of a sudden we're helpless. We can't figure out how to, flip the switch on the stove or use a spice here or there, or to make Brussels sprouts taste good or asparagus taste good. We go, oh, no, I ain't doing that. Why? It's for your vitality. It's for your vim, vigor, and vip, Gardy. Don't you want to be vim, vigor, and vipped?
I want to be vipped the most, but yes, vim, vigor, and vip.
Yeah, it sounds good. If you can get all 3 V's, that'd be really cool.
Yeah.
But it will accept 1 or 2. But man, let's go for the gusto. Let's get all of them. And I think that if we could get people just to appreciate the idea that food is medicine, and if we can get them to start choosing more food, I think we will eliminate some of the nutritional deficiencies that people are walking around with. We'll see their cravings melt away. We'll see their energy go up. We'll see them start craving healthy nourishment, not garbage. They'll be able to walk past the donut, right? And I want people to, to recognize their pitfalls. I want them to start seeing their triggers. And when they skip meals and then they find themselves deviating, they can be woken up to the idea that, oh, you know what? For the last 3 days, I've been skipping X meal. I've been or snack or whatever, and I see myself having that mid-afternoon fall. I'm sleepy.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to be sleeping at 1 to 3. Well, everyone would like to probably take an afternoon siesta, but maybe their work doesn't allow such a thing, and therefore they struggle. I mean, have you ever been tired and you have work to do, and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't even hold my eyes open, and I am just like dragging. I mean, you're like, it's like everything in you to, come on, Chop, you can do it. Come on, Gardy, you can do it. Like you're like whipping your subconscious to wake you back up. Well, what if that is something that's happening on the regular because your food choices are the poison, not the medicine?
Mm-hmm.
Because by definition, food is a life-giving substance, something that energizes you, something that lifts you, something that hydrates you, that nourishes you, that regenerates you. Nothing in that sounds fatigue or tired or sleep. So if you find yourself wanting to crash out after lunch or after dinner or after breakfast, and it's like that abnormalcy, like you literally sit down and you're out, or you're at the stoplight going, oh no, I'm already yawning. Where's the nearest coffee bar, or where's the nearest gas stations for a quick fix? We don't want you reaching for quick fixes. Quick fixes are like burning paper. They burn fast. They actually create more stress, inflammation, and oxidation in your body. Your body's got enough of that just with your deadlines and your stress timelines. If we can get you eating sustainable, rich nourishment, and that's what we're doing with our food coaching program, is teaching people what real food looks like and how to consume that real food in a way that is a nice log on a fire. It keeps you warm. It keeps you hot. It keeps your path lit. It does so many great things to navigate the challenges of life. And I think that is an exciting piece of the pie that we want people to see. And I'm just excited that the food coaching program is here, that we have a tool to help people navigate the terrain. And I just want to encourage people that, when we have these classes, so last night was our second, introduction classes. We have, in 2 weeks, we'll have another introductory class. We want you to come and be a part of it. Tune in on the Zoom calls and make sure that you're a part of what Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center is doing, because we do believe that all life starts and stops at the cellular level, and nutrition is the fundamental driver and factor. Now, can we get back to the conversation that we have to supplement here, where the deficiencies are? Yes. Do we have to supplement where the inflammation and the fires are? Yes. Do we have to make sure that we're dealing with the challenges of life when your immune system is taxed? Guys, we're about to go into school season, and I saw backpacks right out here in the lobby. I see, people posting pictures of cool bags that their kids are putting together, getting ready for school so they can go look cool. And so here's the deal: is people are going back to school. We're gonna see our school season bugs start cropping up. Sinus congestion, allergies. They're gonna get staph, strep. They're gonna get belly pains. They're gonna get vomiting, diarrhea, because they're sharing germs with their buddies. And now, guys, you cannot, and it's silly to even try to hide from the germs. You can't do it. I mean, they're everywhere. You've got millions of them on your skin that you need. And so we don't want you to, be afraid of germs. We just want you to appreciate that, hey, they're going to be inoculated. And so if your blood sugar is not on the fritz, swinging up and down and all around and not in a stable state, then you're more you're more balanced, and you're less likely to have those immunological triggers where you're going to catch the stuff. But even if you did catch the stuff, herd immunity is a powerful thing, and it'll make you stronger. But you won't go down for weeks or a week or even 5 days. You'll go down 24 hours. Maybe it's 8 hours for you. And you get a little spike in fever, and your body's like, no, I got this under control. It demolishes the bug, because you're not putting in fake fuel, make-believe food, expecting nourishment to come.
Yeah.
I mean, it to me, as I just sit here and just talk about this stuff, it sounds so easy. And it is easy. Maybe it's simple ideas, concepts. It's just harder to integrate. It's not always easy to integrate balanced living into our lives. But that's one of those areas of health that we have to get a handle on. Choosing to eat breakfast and getting up a little earlier, going to bed a little earlier is a good habit to incorporate if you're going to play the world's game, which is typically what? They have an 8 to 5 routine. They have a 7:30 and to 4:30 routine. Whatever that looks like, that means you're getting up early, then you best be going to bed early. Because if you don't and you're running on fumes, you're going to be looking for those quick fixes, which is then going to disrupt your blood sugar. That's then going to disrupt your hormones. That's then going to cause you to crave, and then you're going to keep this perpetuating cycle, causing you to ultimately have symptoms.
How many problems do you think could be solved with adequate water and adequate sleep? It seems like those are great tools to use to kind of fix your body.
Yeah. I believe that if you aren't sleeping well, you're not healing well. You're not regenerating. You're not maximizing your vim, vigor, and vip longevity vitality curve by any stretch of the imagination. Can't even try it. If we know anything about sleep, and as much as we know about sleep, we still don't know much about sleep and its unique, wonderful, life-giving properties. But what we do know is if you miss sleep, you can, within a few days, find yourself legally insane according to standardized insane testing just through a lack of sleep. So people have done these experiments. We know that sleep, there are processes that are happening when we are asleep subconsciously that we need in order to maximize our memory. So when you have children or even adults, let's not exclude anybody here because this is a natural physiologic process that hits everybody that calls themselves human, mammalian, right? If you do not get that sleep, you don't learn how to your body can't put what you learned today into long-term storage for tomorrow. You find yourself like reaching for words and numbers and names, and you can't find them. Like you're like, oh, what's wrong with me? Like something's got to be wrong with me. My memory's slipping. No, you could be just sleep deprived.
I've had that happen before, but it's whenever I've gone on, like if I'm on caffeine and then I'm not. One day I'm not. Either I don't have time or I'm making an effort.
Miss it.
Yeah, making an effort or not. I found that where it's like, what was the word? What was the thing I was going to say? I'm missing.
And so there's got to be workarounds when those things happen. We love using things like our acetyl CH product that's got different brain boosting herbs in it and nourishing factors for circulation to the brain. We use ribonucleic acid a lot to push the brain. We have our brain tonic that has different blood flow improvement factors to help get better blood flow to the brain, and which ultimately means better oxygenation, better nutrient delivery. Mm-hmm. We have tools to help when the mind slips that are not what we call stimulants. We want people to be able to live a stimulant-free life. We get it, you're going to, but we also want you to maximize. What if you could learn how to microdose caffeine? What if you could learn how to microdose, different herbs to help open up channels that you wouldn't otherwise be able to tap into? Those are the clinical pieces that we are experts at Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center. We can help you figure out how to drive brain function so that you can be creative to hit a deadline, or to be creative so that you can think on your feet when you're making your sales pitch to your boss or your team. Or we can make sure that when little Johnny's getting ready for school, that when he's at school he can participate in the arithmetic or the reading or the writing or whatever there's going on. And so instead of a lot of these folks kind of getting passed by because their brain is not fully engaged, we can leverage clinical nutrition, the supplemental effects of biohacking the brain, or biohacking energy pathway. Yesterday I use these when I'm with patients, because patients want me to be on my A game all the time. So yesterday, Mindy's so good to me. She brought me brain and energy tonics. She was back there, mixing some herbs, and mixed up some for Jennifer and I as we were working on patients. And that it's amazing what 2.5 mil, just right around a teaspoon of herb, can do for hours in your body. Your body gets these herbs, and it's like it just gets this supercharge of efficiency. And so instead of having lazy cells, it's like I just pushed a button. And I pushed that button so many times. And that's the cool thing about herbs is it's a training. Like, I remember the first time I took Kinley, she was little. She was probably, I bet you she was 6 or 7. We were at a seminar, and we were the docs were teaching. We would just try different herbs, and they would have us just put it on your anatomical snuff box right on your thumb, and it makes a little triangle there, and we would just put a dab of herb, and we'd lick it off. And we, licked 15 different herbs off our skin, and she, on the way home, got sick and threw up just off of 15 drops of herb. Well, it was her first time. I had literally, nerves that wire together. Her body had to take in all that new information, because herbs do drive a process, and she got a little sicky on me, but she never has been sick since. And she takes herbs galore. Like, she can handle, not just a drop. She can do full droppers of stuff, 25, 30, 60 drops of things now in one setting, because she's built the pathway. So some of these tools that we use, they are new to people, or people have so much toxicity, and we drive a process. I have a gal right now that, we're working through some bugs in her gut, and she's like, I just want to push these bugs out of me. I want them out of me so I can just be free of it. She's like, she's microwaving it. Okay, I got it. I guess I'd rather us back down and slow down, because let's push your body as hard as it needs to be pushed, but only as hard as it can handle. There's no sense feeling the suffering if you don't have to. Sometimes there's no way around it. You got to go through it. We get that. But a lot of times there's workarounds. There's extra drainage remedies we can add. Or sometimes we're just forced to slow down. And I had a guy came in, and all I could do was start working on him with chiropractic care and essential oils. Those are the only 2 things that his body would allow. And he said that supplements of any kind would just throw him into a flare, and his body would be in massive pain. He'd be in massive bloat. His brain would be shut off. He would have a headache. How many people are walking around with these types of symptoms on the regular? But these were all caused by him taking quote-unquote good nutritional food supplements. That doesn't make sense.
Right.
Something's wrong with that picture. And, one of the things that I really pride Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center on is we're patient. We don't get frustrated because people's bodies say no to food initially. We're astute enough, smart enough, and understand the game enough of physiology that we can help a person, sidestep some of those pitfalls, even if it means starting with 1 capsule, 1 tablet, or 1 drop of this. And in this guy's case, it was essential oils. And then after a few weeks of essential oils, we found an adaptogenic herbal de-stressing cream that we could rub on his fosses, his elbow pit, his knee pits, in different places around his low back or by his adrenal glands. And they would act just like our oral stuff, but we had put them in topically. So it came through a different, pathway, and his body took it. No negative reaction. And so when we were successful with that, we took another step, and we tried just a couple drops of a liquid mineral, something that we could really microdose. Because in this guy's case, every time he's ever been pushed, it threw him into a flare-up of headaches or sluggishness or his body pains, or his body was just feeling completely incapacitated. His mind was fogged and overwhelmed with racing thoughts, and he couldn't get it under control. That happens to people. that are trying to get healthy sometimes because they're so toxic. Well, when you listen to the story, of course it makes sense. He's, used to do different types of steroids, used to do different types of things to help enhance him in the gym. He, has had health problems, and we had a lot of medication in the past, and so we had to unwind all of those negative pathways. And it took a retraining of his pathways. And so the idea of coaching infiltrates into our health life in multiple ways. We've got to be, as the patient enough to allow the process to work. Because sometimes it's not. We're dealing with chemistry here. It's not always easy. We're also talking about genetics here. It's not always easy. We're talking about your daily choice to keep moving onward, upward, goodward, and Godward, and make the better choice today. Make the better choice this week. Make the better choice for the next 2 weeks. 3 weeks, 4 weeks. How many days in a row can you eat clean? Right? And what I mean by clean, low sugar and none of the 4 deadly food additives. And people will find that there's freedom in being able to eat cleaner foods more frequently, and they taste fine. They taste good. They're satisfied, and they're not having these blood sugar cravings. They're not looking for the stimulant to get them through their afternoon or through their day. And I think there's reward in that, because now the body is leveraging macronutrients, your proteins, your fats, and your carbohydrates in such a way that it allows regeneration to happen at a rapid pace. So that you train today, you're ready to train tomorrow. You're ready to study hard this week, and you're able to recover next week. Or you make it through the semester, and you're not adrenally fatigued, right? Or you got the big deadline, or you started a new business, and you're like really burning the candle at all angles, and you're able to keep going. You don't become the 5-year statistic that starting a new biz, you go out of biz because you burn out. Or the second, 5-year burnout, factor. You find longevity in your business, and you find creativity and productivity. I back out of my driveway, and I just tell my babies, I say, be creative for Jesus today. Do something amazing today, and I just want my, kids to always, even though I'm serving people and I'm out away from them, that even I'm still doing some cool things, and I want them to be looking for cool things and extraordinary things to do, even being, in the school system that we're in, or being, at home during the summer, or wherever they're at. They have an opportunity to be better than they even thought they could be. New skills, always growing, always pushing forward, onward, upward, goodward, and Godward, trying to be better than we were yesterday in some capacity.
That's the way you run your business, too, it seems, always adding new programs. Just there, y'all are always going out to these seminars and learning and everything. Like the nutrition program is brand new.
Yeah,
always adding stuff.
And we've always been talking about food, but it's always been in the realm of like what is driving your inflammatory process, and we have to take it away. And so people always know that we're going to take some foods away, and we still are, But we're also wanting to add back. All right, we know there's 900 different carbohydrates out there, and we know that 895 of them are terrible for you.
Yeah.
Right? Well, let's pick the good ones. Let's pick the ones that help maximize protein utilization. Let's pick proteins that are clean. Let's be mindful that where do we buy these? I had a lady, she goes, I want a hamburger so bad, I'm going to gnaw my arm off if I don't get it. I said, okay. Okay, settle down. You've done great, sister. It's been 6 weeks on her streak, and she's at this point where she needs the burger, right? I said, great. Here are the rules. Because we're experimenting, because we know this gal's got a history of blood sugar dysregulation. She eats something cruddy, and it derails her, right? So we're going to do a burger, a hamburger, that she has to hand make. None of this buying in a box stuff. None of this running to the market and buying stuff, right? I want her to pack that meat, right? And then I want her to grab, 2 clean pieces of bread, like maybe the Ezekiel bread, and cut one of those muffins in half. They're a little smaller, and that's your burger. And so our first experiment, in in this case, we're gonna give her 3 ounces of, some sweet potato fries. And I mean, it's hard to find one that doesn't have bad oils, that have some sort of garbage in it, but 3 ounces, we're gonna Experiment. That's the meal. No condiments, no tomatoes, no pickles, none of that this first time, and we're going to see how they do. But this is a 76-year-old woman making lifestyle changes. And she's lost almost, I think, 22 pounds as of our last visit last week. And I just get excited because even at 76, she's able to lose weight. Because and really all we did was adjust her macros. We had to she had a high percentage of body fat, and so we had to look at what she wasn't doing, what she wasn't eating, period. Like she would skip all of her meals and have one giant meal at dinner. Well, how many people do that?
Probably a lot.
More than we think.
Yeah.
More than we think. I mean, I see it every day, and I'm always just baffled to see how many people are literally on the starvation diet. But the interesting thing is on the starvation diet, she was almost 49% body fat, and that's a pretty high fat ratio. The first month she lost 10 pounds,
just
eating one new meal a day. So she had her normal dinner. We just tweaked a little bit, and we added another meal. So she's just at 2 meals, and we cut her fat down a little bit because she's got enough. At 49%, she's got enough. So we cut that down in her diet to make her body burn some of her own, and we lost 10 pounds of fat. We gained 0.5 or 0.3 pounds of muscle. We didn't really gain much, but I mean, she's not exercising.
It's just nutritional changes.
Just nutritional changes. Mm-hmm. And so we wouldn't expect her to build muscle in a month. Not doing anything, doing no working out or training, and we didn't put but just one new meal in. That's all we were able to get in. But we also took a little bit of the fat out of her diet, and it completely forced her body to burn some body fat. And she goes, "I feel good. My clothes are fitting better. I definitely lost weight." And when we did her in-body scan, it was like miraculous. I was like, "You got to be kidding me!" I mean, I'm even shocked, right? I'm like, that's cool. We want to see stuff like that. And she's, going through the program and just working through that. Now, I believe, because we're taking some of those burdens off of her body, she's going to utilize her supplements better, her clinical nutrition program. So it's not throw, one thing out for another. It's not a new fandango thing. It's still food. It's just the way we talk about food and nourishing your body and helping you find something that is what we call sustainable, Mm-hmm. And we got to find these biohacks to help us navigate the processed food, fast food nation that we live in. And we've got to recognize that those fake foods, these make-believe foods, are driving our health down, and they're causing us to miss opportunities like we talked about earlier, sleep, or so we can recover. And if we can get people to drink more water, like you were talking about also earlier, as another great tool, then the body can flush and detox. The body's many cries for water. It's a famous book. I think you can download it for free as a PDF. But it's amazing that how many stories, acid reflux, bloating, indigestion, skin rashes, headaches, migraines, disruptions in periods and hormonal changes, all resolved by getting people's water hydration level back into balance. And I just go, okay. I mean, I love simple. What's the old KISS principle? Keep it simple. Well, we won't call anybody that. That's not nice. But we'll say keep it simple,
sweetie.
Yeah, sweetie. That's right. I like that. Keep it simple, sweetie. And so we can find little easy practices applied over time in order to maximize your longevity, your vitality. And it doesn't mean that you can't ever have a cheat. It just means that we've got to reset you, right? We've just got to hit that reset button a few times and reprogram those good pathways, and your metabolism will perform for you on your behalf to maximize your genetic expression of health, as opposed to, the high cholesterol gene that everybody has, right? Really, I think it's just familiar. I think it's just bad habits practiced over time. We call that mistake colossal. It leads to disease. It leads to the oak tree story. If you do, if today and for the next 10 years you start living bad choice living diet practices, you're going to find very soon, and they've proven that in that documentary Super Size Me, 30 days to ruin a person's health. Eating garbage. Well, what about I don't know if anybody caught this, but it took 4 to 6 months for the dude to get back the health that he had prior to that experiment.
Just from 30 days on that.
30 days of that trash living cost him potentially 4 to 6 months of life. Now, God bless him for willing to put himself through it. But wowza, that's not very promising when every one of us love our children, right?
Yeah.
But yet we're all right in line getting them garbage food too often. I didn't say you can't go to get garbage food from time to time. It's okay. Just recognize that it's garbage food and it's not real. So I teach my kids the difference between, is that real food or make-believe food? It's make-believe food. Well, how much make-believe food have you had this week? I ask them questions like that. They got the snots, the sniffles, they got the congestion, and they seem a little swollen in their eyes. They just aren't, they seem a little bloated or constipated. What you been eating? How much make-believe food have you been consuming? And they go, probably too much. I probably should cut back. It's not that I'm trying to guilt them. Ask them questions to get them thinking about their practice. Because a man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. I don't want them to just trust me that I'm right. I want them to feel it in their body. I want them to associate the fact that they're having a headache or some sort of symptom pattern with something that they did in the last 72 hours or 4 days. Because if I can get them to start seeing little glimpses of it, I'm training their mind to see. I'm training their biochemistry to represent the difference between feeling good and not feeling good. And if I can get them to see it enough times, then what will happen is when they're 15, 16, when they're out driving around with their own money and stopping in at this place and that place, they will more than likely be more balanced in their portion control of good choices.
Do you think teaching them those nutritional concepts is just as important or maybe even more important than like the school stuff that they're learning?
Oh, I think we should fundamentally have better coaching classes and nutrition programs for young kids because kids get it. They do get it. And there's been people that have tried to go into the school system and bring food concepts in and were shocked when kids didn't know what a beet was or rutabaga was or some sort of weird vegetable that might be quote unquote exotic to some. And they're very common foods that we should be consuming on the regular, but they're not consuming it for this reason or that. And I think that absolutely, because it's very hard to be good at math if you don't have good synaptic firing, and that synaptic firing can't happen if you don't have good nutrition. Your brain wants two major things whenever it's learning or performing or advancing forward. It wants fuel. That comes from food choices or hydration choices. Fuel. We got to put the good octane gas in so that the synaptic firing capacity is there. It's really great if I have the second thing that my brain needs, which is stimulation. I need to stimulate the brain to perform well. But if I don't feed it well, Gardy, and I overstimulate it, I could potentially burn it out or burn it up. And so we don't want to burn our neurons up or burn them out. We want to feed the body well so it regenerates well and that it takes in that information. It's like it lubricates the brain engine so that it never overheats, right? And I think we need to be training that skill early in school. I was just telling one of my staff this morning that I would love it if I could do more neurological biohacking for people because people need to see. Really, I was talking to a patient yesterday, and his wife had a stroke, and there were some challenges that they were dealing with, and in getting her kind of back up to 100%. She's 90%, praise God, but she's not 100%. But if I could teach how to do cranial nerve work using colored glasses, eye mobility exercises, hand or wrist and ankle joint mobility exercises. I could do amazing things to rehab neurological competency. We can bring the power back into the system so that then when they call the system to act, it's there, right? And so it's so fascinating to me to see that the body wants to heal. But it seems like the more we as man, whether intentionally or not, or entrepreneurially or not, we seem to be meddling in the food game, and we're messing up the food, therefore messing up the man. Any good trainer in the gym will tell you that 80% of your success comes from where?
Nutrition
in the kitchen. And so the kitchen becomes one of your best teachers. Well, a part of the Living Well food coaching program is designed to get you comfortable facing that teacher. You ever gone into class and you can just get this vibe that they're going to be a hard teacher?
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes if they're a good teacher, you'll learn more from that hard teaching experience than you'll learn from any of your easy teachers. But they're hard. They're hard they push you, they challenge you, they don't make it easy for you. And then you come out finding that, dude, like, I'm a better researcher, I'm a better thinker, I'm more creative, trying to figure out how to have conversations with hard people. And so it's no doubt the same when you walk into the old teacher kitchen and let the kitchen show you that you don't know what you're doing. And then instead of you going, I ain't never going back to that teacher, right? Because that's what they do. And then we go looking for the fast food, the convenient food, the junk food, and we throw it in a microwave. We sneak in and hit the fast-paced button so we can get the heck out of Dodge. Instead, we go in. We keep going back into that kitchen and getting a lesson. We get trained one more time. We get trained one more day, one more week, one more month. And when all of a sudden we start finding the average American's eating the same 10 to 15 meals over and over again. And so you've just created a pathway of stimulation in your brain where you're running 10 to 15 common threads in your food planning. And if we could get people planning again, people don't plan to fail. What? They fail to plan. If we could get them to plan a little better. Well, it's hard to plan if you don't really have a idea of what you need to be doing. I mean, we all know it could be Taco Tuesday. I mean, that's what today is, right?
It is Taco Tuesday. Yes.
But here's the thing: that's somebody putting in a software program idea into your head that every Tuesday we eat tacos. What if we teach our kids every week that they have to cook a meal, and they're responsible for hitting the magic buttons: the protein button, the carb button, the vegetable button, the fat button, and understanding that oil is really fat. Understanding that a chicken breast is a protein. Understanding that not all carbs are created equal. Well, and that's where the coaching program comes in. And that's what we're doing. We are always out to deliver the best of nutritional data for you to glean our experiences, our travel time, our willingness to go dig for y'all so that we can bring back tools so that you can start digging for better health, so that you can start applying these practices and principles to live your better, best life now, today. No matter where your symptom patterns are right now, no matter how you feel right now, we want you to feel good, be good, perform good because you're choosing to live better. You're choosing to eat better or to hydrate better, to think better. And we all, like we said earlier, need a good coach to speak into our life so that we can be the best version always and forever. So that way we can do all the things that God called us to do so that we can level up. So we can pass on those generational blessings to our kids, that we're more patient with life. We're not letting life just whip us around and slam us in front of the next meeting or the next deadline, but instead we're taking the bull by the horns and controlling our environment. We're de-stressed in a world that is stressed out. We are able to be lights for people that are living in darkness. We're able to give hope to the hopeless and encouragement to those that need to be encouraged. I mean, there's so many great things that you have to offer and to pour into people. But if you're broken and sick and your body's not able to unwind right, it's hard to be all those wonderful positive things, and you find yourself stuck in the negative nilly button, right? We don't want you to be in that vein. We want to get you out of that vein. And so at Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center, make sure that you're tuning in for the next every other Monday to our education classes. Even if you came last week or last night, come again. You need to hear it again. You're going to get a new nugget, a new practice, a new principle. You're going to associate with the community. The community is everything. So give us a call, 281-554-8600. Visit our website, justlivewell.com. We want you to be a part of everything that we're doing. We want you to choose life one bite at a time. We want you to choose life one supplement at a time. We want to help you understand what you're doing and why you're doing it and build your medicine tool chest. We want to give you the practices and the tools to apply when it's 12 o'clock on a Friday night or it's on the weekend and you can't get a hold of anybody. You have tools to help you maximize your family's health and your health. So this is Dr. Aaron Chapa, Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center. We're always glad to be here with KHEA Radio. Gardy, it's always a pleasure, my good brother.
This is KHEA Radio, 99.5 FM.